Greetings, internet family. Welcome to Laugh Out Lisa. I'm Lisa, here today to bring you the good news. Well, not really. Today we're asking, who is the human in human rights? It seems like an obvious answer when you hear the word human. It must mean everyone, right? Well, sadly, it's just not that easy. I know to say that this subject is extensive. There's so much interesting stuff to learn on this. So if you're interested in learning more, there's plenty of reading out there. But in this video, we'll be breaking the subject down in 3 short points. So let's begin. Number 1. So we can't really talk about human rights without first talking about the UDHR, which is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Ooh. The UDHR was first created in 1948 in response to the atrocities that occurred in World War II. 48 countries voted in favour, 8 abstained, and 2 did not vote. Can you guess who the 8 were? It doesn't matter. That's not what this is today. A special committee was put together, and over 2 years they assembled what became the UDHR, a document that commits all nations to recognise all humans as being born free and equal in dignity and rights, regardless of nationality, place of residence, gender, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, language, or any other status. Yeah. Now you're probably thinking, how can it have been for all peoples, Lisa, if it was probably written by a bunch of old white men? And you're not totally wrong. While most of the historical photos and facts may point to 90% men, with the exception of Eleanor Roosevelt, who chaired the committee, there were many international trailblazing women who influenced the UDHR, putting specific emphasis on the language used and changing the text to reference both men and women. Because it was 1948 and saying men still meant all humans. What? Looking at the text of the document today, though, it is a bit dated. Which leads me to point number 2. In fact, there were influential non-Western women who had a huge influence in the drafting of the UDHR. These included women such as Begum Shasta Ikramullah from Pakistan, Minerva Bernardino from the Dominican Republic, and Hansen Mehta from India. And many more. There's even a book on it, Women in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These women fought for all kinds of representation within the UDHR, including the very first article, which originally read, "All men are born free and equal." Great start. This was thankfully changed to "All human beings are born free and equal." Thank you. So it can't really be said that in 1948 saying he, him was acceptable wording for all humans when you had these women being like, hello, did you forget anyone? We exist. Thank you. The issue highlighted here is that in this document, men are considered the generic human, and women are a kind of subcategory. What? Even today, when we say women's rights, it's almost as though there is a suggestion that they are not in the main human rights category, because women are not the generic human. Hashtag women's rights are human rights, y'all. Knowing all this, it's easy to imagine that implementing any changes to the UDHR to accommodate both men and women was quite the battle, because despite there being many changes to language and representation, the majority of the UDHR still uses the male pronoun to describe who the rights are owed to. So, are we closer to understanding who the human in human rights is? Let's summarize in point 3. A helpful perspective to all of this might be that while the UDHR looks a bit dated in the modern day, it did pave the way for many other human rights conventions today, such as the Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the Convention Against Torture and Other Cruel, Inhumane and Other Degrading Treatment of Punishment, and the Convention on the Rights of the Child. There's a lot, I'll link, you read. What's great about this is that these conventions are legally binding, whereas the UDHR is not. So from one good idea sprung stronger, more airtight ideas. Gotta start somewhere. And while the UDHR can be seen as a launchpad for international human rights law, there's no denying that it does point to a generic human, of which excludes many others. Something that even today we are still striving to correct. Had we framed the UDHR differently, would we be fighting the existing injustices such as gender inequality today? Very possibly, but we'll never know. What we do know is that a mere 73 years ago, all of this was not a thing. And it's safe to say that human rights in many places is still being digested. Yup, that's how fast progress moves. It's like this. Really slow. Slower than that. And then sometimes it does this. Then we have to kind of start again. And then it's like this again. Very slow. It's awkward. There's more to this discussion, but let's put a pin in it for today, okay? Okay, good. Okay, that's the show.